just a little further explanation in regards to some of the issues with this coop behind me. This coop sits right along, our house, so right along this structure. And while that initially does not seem like a huge deal, there's a few things that it causes. There are a few issues that come about. What you create is this perfect little runway for pests, for rodents, for rats, for mice. You're basically creating this nice little shelter, this nice little pathway for them to get to food. And if you pair that with inefficient systems in regards to food and water within your coop, you kind of have the perfect storm in terms of rodents. Having the coop right up on the building also creates this tricky situation where if and when you ever have to do any home maintenance or any sort of maintenance on that structure, you now have this coop, right? So this large structure up against the structure that you need to work on. So in hindsight, right, should have just pulled this thing out. Because if I were to need to do anything with the windows, if I were to do anything with the soffit or the siding, I'd have to pull this whole coop off the building, right, in order to do any maintenance on the house. So once again, right, just a miscalculation. Now the ventilation is another thing. So with this coop, I have kind of exceeded the requirements in regards to ventilation. When you start researching how you're going to build your coop, some of the key mistakes that people make, usually it's in regard to not enough ventilation. In my situation, I have way too much ventilation. It's great in the summertime, but in the winter I had way too much, to the point that really the amount of ventilation that I put in just defeated the entire purpose of a coop, right? It was very drafty, there was snow getting in there. The chickens in the morning would be covered with a light little dusting of snow. Even if it didn't snow, it would just be the snow that was blowing up over the roof, right? And then it'd come right into here, right? If you could imagine, boom, it's coming right up into there and it'd go right down on top of the chicken. While I think I had the right idea to begin with, I just kind of went overboard with the ventilation. Now, there is a fairly simple fix. I think you would just have to make some sort of temporary covers that you put over it in the winter, and then you would remove them in the summer, just like I did with some of that leftover polycarbonate. The last two issues that I mentioned were the inability to access the coop and the run, and then the poor systems that were put in place. These two kind of go hand in hand. Really, you're not going to need to access the coop and the run a ton if you have good systems in place. And when I'm talking about systems, I'm talking about how you water the chickens, how you feed the chickens, and then how you collect the eggs. Now in this situation, this was my only access into the coop. And if you can imagine, right, I'm getting in there. It is a very long coop and it is a very short coop. So I'd have to hunch down, walk all the way through there in order to get over to the run where the chickens would then access the coop. And what I really needed was just more access points around the coop in which I can feed from the outside and water from the outside. All of these things would be improved if, and once again, we're going back to the first issue, if the coop was off of the structure, because I'd have a whole nother side that I could have put the nesting box, that I could have put food and water. A lot of these issues were brought about by the fact that we are dealing with a small property, and on a small property, space is in short supply. So people are going to have the tendency to want to tuck things in, right? Push it as far to that structure because then it left me space in the yard. But I did not consider some of these issues that have arisen, right? So if you have a small property and you're considering getting chickens or building a chicken coop, be sure, right, avoid the temptation of tucking that coop right up against any sort of building, right? Unless you're talking like a shed or something like that, where rodents maybe wouldn't be as big an issue. Make sure that you have systems in place so that you can water, feed, and gather eggs from the outside of the coop and run, and you should be good to go at that point in time. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned in 2026 as we address some of these issues. Be sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate you.